Buju and Denoy Maganadok, Anin, Kage Gabo and Dijinakas, Mekanak and Dudem, Mekanak Wajawing and Dunjaba, Beshoga Kabakang and Danungom, Apichigo Migwach Bizindawyeg. And what I said there was a traditional Ojibwe protocol greeting. I said hello, all of my relatives. My name is Kage Gabo. I'm Turtle Clan. I'm a descendant of Turtle Mountain. I live close to Minneapolis today, and I wanted to thank you all for listening to this live Ojibwe Word of the Day. Again, it's Thursday night. This is something I look forward to doing all week, and I'm always glad whenever you join us online to talk about Ojibwe culture, linguistics, spirituality, our ethics, our philosophy. And again, it's something I really enjoy doing. And tonight's word is one I'd like to present with a caveat in the beginning. It is a word that I absolutely love. My understanding of it has changed throughout the years. It's developed. And I, even at this point in my life, am nowhere near in understanding all of its facets and the depth of it. But it's something I find incredibly beautiful and incredibly important. And it's a word I actually use at the ending of every Ojibwe Word of the Day. It's Ayaangwaamizin, Ayaangwaamizin. And often when I'll say it to you all, it's Ayaangwaamizin, which means all of you, do take care. All of you, be cautious. And then something that will develop as this talk goes on is be in a state of awareness. So when I first learned this word, I first came across it in a traditional story, in an atsokan, in a sacred story, a winter story. And so all of a sudden I knew, wait, this is a very old word. And it would be seasonally inappropriate, of course, for me to tell that story, but it is the very first in the series of when Abosho, our trickster, our spiritual uncle of the Anishinaabe, is being born. And it's actually his grandmother speaking to his mom. And one of the words she says to her daughter is Ayaangwaamizin, Ayaangwaamizin. And in this context, it means to be cautious, to take care, because she knows that the west wind is hanging around and that something is going to happen. And so in that case, she's using this word in a way that would be very properly translated as to be careful, be cautious, be aware of danger. And, it's in a very appropriate way of using it in that context. And as my understanding of this word changed through the years, I began kind of looking at myself and as well as our culture here in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Euro-American, and sometimes wondering if we don't live in something of a culture of fear. And that maybe in this translation, I wasn't getting all of the depth and all of the subtleties and meanings of a word like Ayaangwaamizin. Because that's a command, and it comes from this word, Ayaangwaamizin, which means to be cautious, but it also means to be careful. And when that was the translation that really got me thinking about it, to be careful. And rather than treating something with fear, or fear that it might be out to get you, treating something with great care. Treating something with great affection, with great concern. And for me to describe this state of Ayaangwaamizin, it's kind of a companion teaching from last week's word of the day, Binda Kuchige. Binda Kuchige. Here she makes a tobacco offering. Here she is working with tobacco, or it could be a semake. Here she is making a tobacco offering, or bagichige. Here she is making an offering. And it's that state of mind while you're doing this. What you're doing then is you're being aware. You're being aware of how you're acting in relationship to someone. In relationship, or in English, in some cases, it's to something. And one example of what is not Ayaangwaamizin would be, and I have done this countless times, where I'm walking down the street. I often walk when I meditate or when I think, and I get really deep into thought, and all of a sudden I stumble on the flat sidewalk, and I look down and I say, oh, well, what did I trip on? I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't being aware of my surroundings. I wasn't being aware of what was happening. So what this relates to when our ancestors are offering the tobacco, they're acknowledging that they're about to do something and that something is going to affect someone and that they want to be aware of it. They're aware of how they are acting. So, for example, before Anishinaabe harvests medicine, before the Indian person gathers medicine, the plant is spoken to and is told, I'm going to use you for this certain purpose, and I thank you for healing me, for giving me this mushkiki, this strength of the earth. And then the tobacco is set down before the plant is harvested. Before they gathered or harvested wild rice, tobacco was set in the lake. Before they even got in a canoe, they set tobacco in the lake to acknowledge the spirit of the water. Whenever they were at in a landmark, a particular stone, waterfalls, somewhere where they considered it to be a spiritual place, they set down tobacco. Before they harvested wigwas, before they went to a birch bark tree and cut it, an incision in the bark to harvest the bark, and that could be for a number of different tools or implements that we used. Tobacco was set down. And in this case, that awareness, that treating with care, what they're saying is, I'm aware of my actions right now. I am aware that we are related, that we are all interrelated. And in that relationship, there's interdependence. I absolutely need you to survive. And I'm acknowledging that in this moment. So there are ways to act where you're not aware of that. And sometimes we do that, even if maybe we're walking by a berry bush and we absent-mindedly just take something without acknowledging that relationship to it. Or maybe even going and cutting down a tree, which we all, even if we look in the old days, we would need that wood for fire. We would need that wood for lodges, for a number of different tools. But what they were doing is acknowledging that my actions are going to affect someone else. And if you think about it, that state of awareness, that state of how you are acting in relationship to someone else, it makes a considerable difference. Someone who is setting down tobacco before they harvest a deer, before they hunt a deer, or a buffalo, the moment that they acknowledge that they're taking something, you have to ask yourself, would they over-harvest then? Would they go out and seek to kill all of the deer? Would they go out and seek to kill all of the buffalo? And it's in that moment of awareness that they're saying, no, I won't. I understand what I'm doing. And if you're looking for, in that moment of awareness of how you're acting, asking yourself, well, am I acting with great sagi iwewen, with love, with compassion, with great care and affection for this relationship? Am I acting with dewewen, with truth, with kwai kwai tisuan? Am I being righteous? Am I being honest? Am I being virtuous? Am I respecting him or her? Am I acknowledging his or her sanctity? And am I being humble? Am I acting with a courageous heart, with a strong heart, with zungide ewan? And if I am acting that way, I am acting in that moment then with nibwa kawan. I'm acting intelligently. I'm acting with great wisdom. And so in that moment of awareness, You're also acknowledging that my actions are going to affect someone, not just 4 generations from now, not my great-grandchildren, but their great-grandchildren. And the moment you begin acting with great affection, with great care, with great respect, with humility in regards to those beings who haven't come yet, and also in acknowledging those beings who came before you, your great-grandparents and their great-grandparents, all of a sudden your actions become different. All of a sudden this moment, the sacred moment where you're setting down tobacco, you become fully aware of who you are and how you're acting in relationship to all of your relatives, to all those beings we're interconnected with. And that's a very important way to begin seeking out Minobamatsuin, a good life, a way of living in peace and in balance with all of your relatives, a way of not creating conflict or harm to them, but acknowledging that you're related. So sometimes Ayaangwaamizin can mean be cautious, be careful. You think if someone is going in the lake, if someone is going canoeing, when they're sitting down to the tobacco, it could be cautious, because you're acknowledging the sanctity of the water. The water gives you life, but if you are not careful on the lake, or if something happens, water can also take your life. But I think what our ancestors are saying is, treat the water with great respect. Be aware of what's happening around you. Be aware of your relationship with it. And in that way, you'll be successful. And in that way, you'll take care of this relative. And this relative will take care of you in that moment of awareness. And for me, that's really like true meditation. That's really participating in the ceremony of everyday life, is being present, of being aware of your actions, and of acknowledging that my actions are going to affect someone, not just 4 generations from now, but 7 generations from now. So, mi ie wa kedoyan nongom. That's all I'm going to say this evening. Apajigo miigwech bezendawik. Thank you all again so much for listening to this live Ojibwe Word of the Day. And again, if you know someone who is interested in our language, our culture, our history, our spirituality, our way of being, please feel free to like and share this video with them. Aho. Miigwech bezendawik. Thank you for listening. Dagasana Ayaangwaamizin. Please, all of you, do take care. Banama minawa odasa bandamangigawa bandaman. And the spirits will decide when we see each other again.